I'm a fan.
Welcome to this week's episode of Tracking the Wolves with your voice of the Wolves. Yep, that's me, Ben Root. Let's look back at another busy week of Northern sports. We'll start on the hardwood as the basketball squads got to play in front of some big home crowds, and they rewarded those fans with a nice 4-0 weekend. Northern women dammed up the Beavers offense Friday, recording the 72-44 win over Bemidji State, and they trumped that defensive performance with a golden effort against Minnesota Crookston Saturday in a 66-42 win. Wolves women held each team to about 30% shooting and ended up plus 41 on the glass, respectively, between the two games. Now, a trio of players hit double figures in scoring Friday. Megan Muchler knocked home 14, Paige Wachashik sunk 11, Sadie Stotesbury finished with 10. Saturday night's offense belonged to Rachel Krogman, though. She hit for a career-high 30 points on just 17 shots. Of course, she made it a double-double because, well, she's Rachel Krogman, 11 rebounds to go with it. Sadie Stotesbury found double figures as well with 12 points in the win, and Northern's women are now 11-3 in the NSIC, 2 games up on Moorhead at 9-5, with St. Cloud, Duluth, and Crookston all tied at 7-7 for third place. As for the Northern guys, the men followed the women's lead with some strong defense in both games, setting a season high in steals and turnovers one night and giving up a season low point total the other night. Friday, the guys caused 22 Bemidji State giveaways and racked up 14 steals in an 81-62 pelting of the Beavers. Then the defense put the clamps down again and gave up just 16 field goals in the 58-48 win. 31% shooting night for Crookston was also a season best performance for the Northern defense. On the offensive side of the ball, Northern got 17 points from Sky Warwick Friday, followed by 14 for Seth Bichon, 13 courtesy of Ty Storston, and they got 10 points from Mitch White, who had a season-high 8 boards to go with it. Only 2 Northern guys scored in double figures Saturday. Bichon hit for 19, Storston with a dozen, and the guys picked up the win Saturday despite their season-low 2 3-pointers on 15 deep shots. Northern guys are still second in the North, moving to 11-3 in conference, still 2 games back of Moorhead at 13-1. Wolves, though, are 4 games up on St. Cloud and Duluth, tied at 7-7. Moving on to the mats, things not so good for the Northern wrestlers on the road. The team visited a pair of top 10 ranked teams Friday and Saturday, ended up winning just one head-to-head battle at St. Cloud's Place Friday. Guys got shut out 47-0. Closest contest, Jill Gomez there came up short 4-2. And then Saturday at Upper Iowa, Gomez would be the only victor for the Wolves with a 6-2 win in Northern's loss, 48-3. Grant Steen had a tough loss for Northern there, dropping a 5-3 decision. And finally, track and field teams ran, jumped, and threw in Mankato over the weekend. Wolves performed quite well there. Northern men piled up a dozen top 10 finishes, and the ladies finished with 7. Andrew Johnson took home the only gold for Northern, blazing past the competition in the 200-meter dash. NSU also grabbed second twice, once courtesy of the men's distance medley relay team, and again in the triple jump courtesy of Austin Dancer. Top women's finishes were the third place finishes of Gina Burley and Dakota Bolin in the high jump and 5,000-meter run, respectively. That's a look at last week's action for your Wolves. We'll talk more Northern sports and some more track and field here in just a moment on Tracking the Wolves.
NCAA championships are something special.
Filled with memories we will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
We ask that you cheer hard for your institutions.
Acting responsibly and courteously towards those around you.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, enjoy the game, and let's provide our student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans the respect they deserve.
Welcome back to Tracking the Wolves here, and time to talk a little track and field on this week's edition of Tracking the Wolves with yours truly, Ben Root. And joining us, we've got two folks on the show today. Brianne Jackson joining us here out of Wheatland, Wyoming, a thrower and a junior, and Gina Burley with us, a sophomore jumper that hails a little closer from Pierre. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Now, you both come from different spots. Pierre a lot closer than coming in from Wheatland. How did each of you end up here in Aberdeen? We'll start close by. How about you, Gina? How'd you get here from Pierre?
Actually, Kevin Bierke, our head coach, and then Jim Fuller, who was the head coach at the time, recruited me from Pierre. So my sister went to school at Northern, so it was kind of close to my heart from the beginning.
A pretty easy decision for you then. Your sister had good things to say and everything?
Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Brian?
I got a call from Brenda Fuller, actually, and she called me throughout a couple of weeks and was just like, you know, I'm really interested in you come in to throw here. I want you to look at the school. And so me and my mom drove down one weekend, I believe, and I ended up checking out the school and the program, and I really liked it. So that's when I kind of made my decision after I checked out the school and the track program. So
now, coming in from there, you know, you've been here a few years. The first year or so when you practicing and competing, did you notice a big difference coming in from Wheatland as far as altitude and everything, and kind of a bit lower here?
I would say it's a little bit colder here, but we get snow, and I'm used to it, so I wasn't so surprised. Besides, it got below like negative 20 or 30, so I mean that kind of sucked, but I'm used to it now. I mean, I would like to go to a warmer place, but I can handle it. So,
which winter is worse?
I would say here, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely here.
I don't know. Depends on what you don't like.
Right.
There, it's like you got to watch out for the deer and the antelope and the black ice, and here you get the regular ice, and I don't know, not as much deer, but I guess you don't watch for them as much, so maybe it's more dangerous. Now, what's the difference between competing for each of you outdoors at Swisher Field during the nice time of the year, or what you're doing right now in the indoors? How about you, Gina?
Oh, that's a tough one. They both have their perks. Like, indoors really great because you don't have to worry about the elements. You don't have to worry about snow or rain or any of that. But it's also more difficult because the surface is a lot harder, a lot more difficult to perform well on. But outdoors, bad because it's always raining, always moving to a different place because it's snowing, and but I like the surface of outdoor better.
Are your numbers better indoor or outdoor? Or?
I'm usually about like a quarter of an inch better in indoor, but I'm better with like outdoor because I'm a first attempt jumper. So if I make it on the first attempt, other people usually let the elements kind of get in their heads. So that's where I excel in outdoor.
Okay. How about you, Brian?
I don't really have a problem with outdoor or indoor. I don't really have a preference. I mean, I would like the indoor just because you don't have to deal with the weather, just like Gina said, but it's outdoor, we're doing both shot and hammer, and indoor we're doing shot and weight. So I mean, weight you don't really do. I mean, I don't have a problem with indoor, outdoor. I don't really have a preference. So.
Okay. Do you like throwing anything particular more than the other?
I would say hammer and weight. I like throwing better than shot just because I've been improving over the years. So I would say definitely weight and hammer.
What's the toughest one? I would think the hammer because it's kind of complex, but.
Yeah, I would say definitely hammer and the weight just because I would say weight more than hammer just because the weight is 25 pounds compared to the hammer that's 8 pounds.
Oh,
so,
well.
I mean, there's a lot more weight you have to turn around and spin in the ring than the hammer, so.
Okay. Either of you have any, well, actually, what is your, I guess, biggest injury story? I would think something has happened probably at some point to you.
I actually don't think I have an injury story.
I want to knock on wood.
Yeah.
What about you, Jim?
Well, I had surgery in May on my left knee, which is my plant knee, which is kind of common, I think, for jumpers to have problems in their plant leg, and so yeah, it's probably my injury story.
Are you kind of all healed up from that and everything? Because I mean, you've got a pretty good marks this year, it looks like.
It's it's a bit of a work in progress, I guess.
looking at getting into high jumping, I always wondered how in the world you figure out how the flop and everything. What was the toughest part of learning that whole thing?
Oh man, I think probably the toughest part was, I don't even know, probably speed, because it's kind of hard to like hit your curve and stay in control while you're speeding up. So I think that was definitely the hardest part of high jump.
Because you don't run just full blast and.
Yeah, you'll hurt yourself.
But you don't have any. You never tried that and like missed the mat or something, or.
Well, when I was younger and my first day with the varsity team, I forgot my spikes and face planted into the side of the mats as I slipped on the track. So that was a fun time.
At least it wasn't an injury. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, each of you has turned in a provisional mark for the season. Looking at the rest of the way here, as you try to improve those numbers, how do you take the provisional off and qualify? What do you need to work on, I guess? How about you, Brianna?
We have been working on speed for me and just pushing through the ball, just because, when it comes to competition and we go against the bigger schools like Wayne and Mankato, you see them pushing the ball and a lot of speed, and that's what we actually all have been working on through weight and the hammer. So that's definitely one of the big things for me, especially.
Okay. How about you, Gene?
I think mine's definitely just like mental blocks. I mean, in practice, we see that I can jump a lot higher than I am in competition, but I put up these mental blockades, so I can't quite get over that hump of like 5'6" or something, because I make a big deal about it.
Or a mental hurdle. Hey-oh, track and field. Yeah. On the student side of things, as we talked to Gina Burley and Brianna Jackson here, how are things going in the classroom? Brianna, I didn't see a major picked yet on the website, at least, but maybe that was wrong. Have you chosen a major yet?
Yeah, I actually am a bio major, wanting to go into physical therapy. So, I mean, school's good so far. There's a lot of science classes, obviously, so I think that's going good so far.
How about you, Gina? I know international business, if I remember right.
Well, that was my freshman year, and they kind of need to update the website. But I'm a political science major with a history minor now.
Okay.
So
What made you get into poli-sci?
I just really love the professors of poli-sci and history, so that had a big thing, but it's really interesting to me, and I kind of want to go into like Bureau of Indian Affairs type thing. So
Cool. Looking at last weekend, you're in Mankato. This weekend, Moorhead trip. What's kind of what you're concentrating on for the trip to Moorhead? Brianna?
I would like to focus on, like I said earlier, speed and pushing the ball and just being mentally prepared for the competition, just because last weekend I don't think I did all of that and I wasn't quite ready. I was a little nervous, and so this week I'm trying to prepare myself more mentally and just to push myself through the ring, basically.
Is it easier for both of you kind of now that right now we're having meets like every week? I mean, we had that like month or 6 weeks off for the holiday and everything. Does that help a lot, or?
oh yeah, track is a long time. I mean, we start the first week of September, and then we practice for 4 months without any competition. And by the time that 4 months is up, we're all kind of dragging already, and so it's good to be getting out and competing.
I guess it's good you have the indoor and the outdoor then too, so you can get to compete a little bit longer too.
Yeah.
So we wrap things up here with Gina and Brianne. As I ask at the end of every show, if you were going on a long road trip or stuck on an island, what 3 CDs, books, or movies would you choose to kill some time?
Oh man.
Gina looks like she's ready for
I'm
this.
not ready. For
You can pick all movies if you want or something. You don't have to pick a book. Like I don't
have to.
really read much personally.
well,
Sorry,
right
sorry,
now,
professors.
right now I'm reading Unbroken, so I'd probably take that one because it's really good. CD, I would probably. Ooh, that's tough. That's tough.
It's like a throwback of like 90s.
No. I would probably take some
Now,
Jesus
volume
culture.
25.
Yeah. And I'd probably take the Bible. Need to keep that close if I'm stuck on an island.
That's really hard. I would probably do all movies. Just,
That's 3 movies you have to watch forever.
Repeat.
Yeah, then you can know the lines. What movies you like?
I like anything. I would do like Disney movies, like Princess and the Frog or something. Like that's my favorite. So
That's a lot of Princess and the Frog.
I guess I'm gonna have to get through.
Take an encyclopedia, read
Yeah.
that.
Jeez.
All right, well, that'll work. Thanks for coming on the show, you two.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
There's Gina Burley and Brianne Jackson joining us here on this edition of Tracking the Wolves. We'll look at the schedule for the week ahead coming up next here on Tracking the Wolves.
We know you want family-friendly sporting events.
Sporting events where you can be comfortable
and entertained in a positive environment. Watching great individuals and teams compete.
with commitment, effort, and good sportsmanship. That's what the Division II Game Environment Initiative is about.
Be a part of the excitement and find out why. These student athletes say with pride,
I chose
Division II.
Welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. Time now to check the upcoming schedule for your NSU squads. Coming up on Thursday, wrestlers are going to look to get their mojo going against Jamestown University. They'll mix in a little non-conference duel right here in the Hub City Thursday. Track and field teams, meanwhile, are hitting the highway again this weekend. They'll take part in the Cobber Open Saturday. That's in Moorhead. And after an exciting weekend of home hoops just a few days ago, things are going to get kicked up another notch this coming weekend when the nationally ranked Mankato teams visit Friday and the always tough Concordia St. Paul squads come to town Saturday. First tip-off against your Wolves set for 6 o'clock Friday, 5 o'clock Saturday at ESPN 1420 1071 and online at ESPNAberdeen.com. That puts another episode of Tracking the Wolves away for this week. To stay up to date on the latest Northern sports notes, join me again for another episode next week. And until then, as always, go Wolves.